Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and yes, this is the third video for today, but apparently Jerry Ward had made a video responding to me about my whole spiel about Biogro. And there's some things we need to just break down here. Jerry's talking about older studies and things from way back in the day, and yes, I remember those days when we didn't have the internet to look up studies. We had to go sit in a university library and go through books and piles to find all the studies and the peer reviews and all the journals. But all right, let's take a look at some of this. All right, Jerry's talking about making this stuff orally bioavailable, these substances. And here's our problem with that. Why are we looking at supplement company on like hydrolyzed proteins and things like that? What relevancy does that have here? Guys, you can't take supplement company research that seriously. It's considered biased research. Nothing that they pay for is going to be considered unbiased. It's all going to be really, really small scale and cheaply done because supplement companies are not going to spend millions of dollars studying something ever. It doesn't matter what it is. They don't have enough profits left to do that, and it's not even in their best interest to do so. So even studying these things like these special hydrolyzed proteins from way back in the day, as far as getting more amino acids from those, it was all nonsense, really. Yeah, there was some supplement sponsored data showing slightly better absorptions, but it's just so largely irrelevant in the real world when it comes to a lot of that. But that is not the same thing as what we're talking about with orally bioavailable growth factors. Yes, there are amino acids and growth factors and IGF-1 and things, but it's not the same thing as these proteins. And doing this sort of process on it is not necessarily going to make it more orally bioavailable. Rather than look at that, why don't we look at mainstream research, the real deal? There are areas of research because of the interest in cancer research and other things in which millions and millions of dollars have gone to study the absorption of growth factors and IGF-1 through the GI tract. There's a massive body of research on that because of the dairy industry and some concerns over potential IGF-1 elevation in the bloodstream from getting it through milk and dairy products, which is what, again, the colostrum is trying to do. And seeing how much link there is with various types of cancers and elevated IGF-1 in the bloodstream. Let's just look at the FDA's data. I'm going to link you guys a main page down below. You guys can start digging through it, and you can keep yourselves busy every day for the next month digging through the data and stuff that you can find by just starting with them as a resource and what they'll link you to. You guys will be busy for 12 hours a day for the next month straight digging through the data if you're really that interested. There's a lot of conflicting data as to how much or if any IGF-1 can be absorbed after it goes through stomach acids and the GI tract or any of these other similar growth factors. And while there is some conflicting data and there are some studies that show small amounts can get through, the overall consensus is that they don't really seem to be orally bioavailable because there's plenty of studies and research that show that they're not really reaching the bloodstream. They're being too degraded by the GI tract. They're not getting there due to digestive enzymes, stomach acids, everything else, particularly the stomach acids. So this idea that you're getting it that way doesn't seem to hold true. And this is really important for us to understand from foods due to cancer research, for us to know this stuff. And we're finding that there's other things that are causing some IGF-1. It's not necessarily the growth factors. It can just be actually the larger amounts of protein. So this whole idea that you're going to drink this Biogro or colostrum or whatever else and get all of these growth factors or even enough of them in the bloodstream to really make a muscle gain difference is kind of silly. Now, for a lot of you, because if you want to skip the stomach acids, maybe you guys should consider having your workout partner, all you bodybuilders, help you boof it. You can do some boofing of Biogro, and maybe, just maybe, that'll boost your blood serum IGF-1. And for those who don't know what boofing is, I guess you guys can go Google that. Elevating your blood serum IGF-1 isn't actually necessarily desirable. What people don't understand, when we're talking about boosting IGF-1 for muscle gains, we're generally talking about intramuscular. We're not talking about it in the bloodstream in large amounts. We're talking about it being produced in the muscle cells themselves that you want to hypertrophy. The muscles that you want to grow, of signaling them to produce it themselves, not produce it in the liver, not have it floating around in the bloodstream in large concentrations, directly on site. And that's the primary mechanism by which anabolic steroids and testosterone cause muscle growth. It is actually by binding to the androgen receptors in the muscle cell, causing them to release IGF-1 locally. That is where your muscle growth comes from. That's also the mechanism by which human growth hormone causes it. And less of it gets in the bloodstream and more of it stays localized. Whereas it floating around the bloodstream, less of it gets to the muscle tissue and it tends to go to all tissues. That's a concern for things like cancer. And here's your thing, if you guys are focused on trying to elevate blood serum IGF-1 as some means of gaining muscle, that's the inferior way to gain muscle. There are other methods to do it if you're really wanting to tamper with your blood chemistry or anything like that. But your thing is, it's going to float around to wherever it has the receptors, that the sensitivities to absorb it all. What sort of cells have the highest affinity for IGF-1? Certain types of cancer cells and certain tumors. Not all of them, but a large number of them do. So in reality, high blood serum IGF-1 is more likely to be feeding your tumors and your cancer cells, and we all get cancer. Let's not pretend like we don't all get cancer. It is known we all get cancer. It's a matter of if the body fights it off before it gets too big and becomes too large of a tumor for your body to break down. If it accelerates the rate at which your body can deal with it, that's when you get serious cancer. But we all get cancer. It's just that for many of us, it doesn't ever develop to the point to where it endangers our health before our body helps eliminate it. In the case of all the circulating IGF-1, you're going to possibly speed up the growth of these tumors faster than you're going to speed up the growth of your muscle tissue. So you're really not doing things the best way if that's your goal. So this whole idea that you're going to take substances to boost your IGF-1, if it even works, then again, it's probably not going to. But even if it does in the way that you're trying to do it, it may not be ideal for your health or fitness. Because again, we're talking about fitness here, guys. Yes, gaining muscle is good, but gaining cancer cells is bad for fitness. And when you're making a trade-off like that, it's just not the best way to do it. Again, this whole stuff is nonsense. We're talking about not understanding the research and data and what's really going on. You're not going to absorb enough of the Biogro to see significant muscle gains. And the thing is, Jerry, I like you, bro. We chat on the phone sometimes. I like you, Jerry, but come on, dude. You're talking about you felt the pump while you're on this that replicated IGF-1, like a weaker version of it. So are you telling me that you weren't on actual IGF-1 or anabolics at the time that you were taking it? Because if you were on either one of those, how would you know the difference? All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.